Did you know that Edgar Cayce predicted something extraordinary about horses that was ignored for decades, while many dismissed it as vague? Recent events are proving it more relevant than ever. What does this mean for us today? Let's dive into the prophecy that's unfolding right now. In the center of a distant, fenced-off pasture, a horse, not just any horse, but a magnificent creature. The very embodiment of raw power and untamed grace is running. Yet, it isn't running in joy or freedom. It runs with an undercurrent of desperate confusion, almost frantic. It is trapped, penned not by visible iron, but by the subtle, almost invisible boundaries of a world that no longer understands its very nature. This is the paradox that should chill you to the bone. We live in an age of unprecedented technological reach, a time when information is instantaneous, and the mysteries of the cosmos are slowly yielding to the calculating mind. We have conquered distance, illuminated the atom, and digitized the collective memory of humanity. Yet, a deep, pervasive anxiety festers just beneath the surface, an existential dread that whispers, are we moving forward, or simply moving away from the things that sustain our soul? The horse, that ancient symbol of power, instinct, and a deep, visceral connection to the living earth, has, in our modern imagination, become a relic. It is a creature of sport, leisure, or history books. Beautiful, yes, but ultimately irrelevant to the true currents of the 21st century. Its thunderous hooves have been replaced by the silent wheels of the automobile, its brute strength by the invisible current of electricity, its intuitive wisdom by algorithms. But what if this relegation of the horse is not merely a consequence of progress, but a symptom of a profound spiritual sickness gripping the modern world? What if the vanishing utility of the horse mirrors the vanishing utility of the very qualities it represents within ourselves: instinct, authenticity, physical presence, and a non-negotiable bond with the wild, unpredictable current of life? Think of the words of the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, the man whose trance state readings offered prophecies that stretched from the sunken continent of Atlantis to the seismic shifts of the future. Cayce was a pragmatic man of the American South, yet he often spoke in cryptic, metaphorical language about the future. Among his voluminous readings, a lesser-known but deeply unsettling prophecy surfaces. It is not about cataclysms or political regimes, but about the horse. Cayce predicted that a time would come when the horse would return to significance, not just as a beast of burden, but as a crucial indicator of humanity's spiritual state. He foresaw an era where people would realize, through a profound lack, that their detachment from the primal energies symbolized by the horse, the very rhythm of the earth beneath its feet, was making them spiritually and psychologically bankrupt. The resurgence of the horse would signal a reawakening of the forgotten, instinctual self. Now, look at the world around you. We are more connected than ever, yet we feel profoundly isolated. We have endless choices, yet we suffer from decision paralysis and pervasive meaninglessness. We have substituted genuine, hard-won experience for curated digital spectacles. We have traded the smell of earth and sweat for the sterile blue light of a screen. Is it possible that Cayce's prophecy is not a quaint prediction about livestock, but a terrifyingly accurate metaphor about the loss of the animal soul within the human psyche? Are we living in the moment of profound, self-imposed spiritual famine, signaled by the way we treat and perceive these majestic animals? Look again at the valley. The running horse is a creature of immediate sensation, responding to the wind, the ground, the sun, a perfect conduit for the raw, untranslated language of existence. And we, the observers, are confined to a life of perpetual mediation, interpreting reality through filters, devices, and intellectual constructs. The great question, then, is this: if the prophecy of the horse's significance is indeed happening now, what unacknowledged hidden part of your own power have you sacrificed to the altar of modernity? If the fading image of the wild horse signals the decay of an essential human truth, what psychological mechanism is forcing us to ignore this deep, instinctual alarm? And how can we possibly hope to survive, let alone thrive, when we have willingly amputated the very root of our vitality? To answer this, we must descend from the ridge and enter the mind itself, for the hidden problem resides not in the fields, but in the deepest, most neglected recesses of our philosophical and psychological roots. We must now confront the mechanism that engineered this spiritual famine. The hidden problem is the decoupling of the self from immediate reality. We have substituted the messy, unpredictable, and often painful truth of existence, the raw material symbolized by the horse's untamed energy, for a sanitized, mediated, and increasingly synthetic consensus reality. The philosophical groundwork for this catastrophe was laid long ago. Consider the profound anxiety at the heart of Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialism. He argued that existence precedes essence. We are thrown into a world of pure, terrifying freedom, forced to define ourselves moment by moment. The modern person, however, has developed sophisticated techniques, technological, social, and psychological, to avoid this confrontation with freedom. We create structures, schedules, and identities so rigid that they smother the very possibility of spontaneous, authentic engagement with the world. This flight from freedom is a flight from the equine spirit within. The horse lives in the radical present. Its existence is pure action and reaction, a seamless interface with the material world. When we ride a horse, we are forced into that immediate reality. We must feel the animal's tension, respond to the shifting terrain, and inhabit a world of non-verbal, instinctual communication. Modernity allows us to bypass this confrontation entirely. We no longer need to read the wind or the landscape. We have a GPS. We no longer need to feel our body's limitations. We outsource labor to machines. We have prioritized comfort and prediction over meaning and presence. This leads us directly to the psychological architecture of our current despair. Deeply illuminated by Carl Jung, Jung spoke of the shadow, the unacknowledged, repressed parts of the personality, often comprising our primitive, instinctual, or animal nature. In the modern world, the collective unconscious has relegated the very qualities of the horse, the aggressive vitality, the spontaneous desire, the untamed physical strength, to this shadow. We fear the raw, untamed power because it resists the ego's desire for control. The horse, therefore, becomes a symbol of the unintegrated instinct. We admire its power from a distance, safely separated by a fence or a screen, precisely because we are terrified of unleashing that same power in our own lives. We live hyper-intellectualized existences, constantly analyzing, critiquing, and filtering, while the deep, powerful current of our physical, instinctual self stagnates. This split creates the neurotic tension that defines the 21st century, a desperate hunger for authenticity paired with an abject fear of the chaos that authenticity requires. Furthermore, Friedrich Nietzsche's diagnosis of the death of God and the rise of nihilism perfectly frames the societal aspect of this decoupling. When the grand foundational narratives that gave meaning to suffering and effort collapse, what is left focus on immediate, quantifiable, and often trivial goals. The journey, the effort, and the vital experience, all symbolized by the demanding reality of the horse and the trail, are abandoned for the fastest, easiest route to a manufactured endpoint. Nietzsche championed the Übermensch, the one who creates his own values out of the chaotic void. But most of us have retreated instead into a state of passive nihilism, where we consume manufactured meaning, constantly seeking external validation and superficial stimulation to mask the hollow core. The physical exertion, the deep patience, and the silent partnership required by the equestrian tradition are antithetical to this passive consumption. The horse demands presence, and the modern mind is dedicated to absence, to escaping the now. The psychic toll of this decoupling is immense. Viktor Frankl, having endured the ultimate test of meaning in the concentration camps, identified the will to meaning as the primary motivational force in humans. What happens when our environment systematically strips us of opportunities to enact genuine physical meaning? When our work is abstract, our relationships are mediated, and our physical existence is automated, we experience an existential vacuum. The horse, in this context, is the ultimate counterforce to this vacuum. It grounds us. It demands reciprocal relationship. It forces us to use our bodies, our intuition, and our courage. When Edgar Cayce spoke of the horse returning to significance, he was prophesying the moment when the human spirit, choked by its own abstract creations, would finally crave the return to the material, demanding reality that the horse represents. This hidden force, this systemic devaluation of the physical and instinctual self, affects everything from our emotional stability to our very sense of identity. We believe we are in control because we can manipulate data on a screen, but we have lost control over our own nervous systems, which are increasingly fragile, overstimulated, and disconnected from the deep, restorative rhythm of the natural world. The tension is building. The anxiety of the modern soul is the sound of the caged horse running a desperate, confused energy with nowhere to go. This internal friction, this repression of the vital self, is silently shaping our personal and societal realities in ways we have yet to truly quantify. We must now turn to the unseen consequences of living a life that denies the gravity and grace of the embodied existence. The psychological decoupling from reality, the severing of the self from the equine. Instinctual core is not an abstract ailment. It translates into quantifiable, destructive patterns in your daily life, creating a cage of consequences that few ever recognize as self-imposed. This is where Cayce's prophecy truly hits home, manifesting as a collective, silent erosion of human potential. The most insidious of these consequences is the tyranny of prediction. Modern life promises security through constant prediction, predicting market trends, predicting social outcomes, predicting emotional reactions. But this obsession with certainty fundamentally violates the nature of life, which is inherently chaotic, emergent, and dynamic like a galloping herd. When you constantly seek to control and predict, you engage in what is known in cognitive psychology as confirmation bias and availability heuristic. You only seek out information that validates your pre-existing, sanitized worldview, and you overestimate the likelihood of events that are easily recalled or dramatized, often digitally mediated crises. The horse, by its nature, shatters this tyranny. Riding is an act of perpetual adjustment, demanding that you abandon the need for certainty and embrace the fluid, moment-to-moment reality of a powerful being beneath you. In neglecting this principle, the modern human becomes brittle. You are mentally and emotionally unequipped for genuine surprise, authentic failure, or unexpected success, leading to epidemic levels of anxiety and fragility. When the predictable, curated world inevitably breaks down as reality always does. The shock is devastating because the instinctual, adaptable self has atrophied. Consider the neurological reality. Our ancestors' nervous systems were finely tuned to the immediate environment predator-prey detection, the rhythm of labor, the sensory input of the natural world. This is the nervous system of the horse alert, grounded and ready for immediate physical action. Our current environment, however, floods the same ancient system with abstract, non-physical threats and rewards social media likes, doom-scrolling headlines, the constant vibration of the phone. This causes chronic allostatic load, a sustained low-grade stress response. We are in perpetual fight or flight, but with no physical action to release the biological energy. The fear of an abstract threat, e.g., social disapproval, financial collapse triggers the same adrenaline and cortisol response as facing a physical predator. The horse, when stressed, runs. It executes the physical release. We, in contrast, sit, stare, and stew. This repression leads to somatic body-based consequences, chronic inflammation, sleep disorders, and emotional flatness, a direct consequence of repudiating the vitality symbolized by the horse. This repression also manifests as a crisis of embodiment. The body is treated as a vehicle for the mind, or worse, as an obstacle to efficiency. We spend our lives in the space above the neck, prioritizing analysis and digital communication over physical presence and sensory wisdom. Cayce's prophecy is not just about the animal, it is about the reclamation of the human animal. The horse demands that you be present in your body to feel the saddle leather, the shifting weight, the subtle cues. Without this demand, we drift into a disembodied state where identity is tied to performance metrics and intellectual output, rather than to the deep, resonant satisfaction of physical mastery and sensory awareness. Philosophically, this relates to Arthur Schopenhauer's concept of the will. Schopenhauer saw the will as a blind, striving force underlying all existence, constantly generating desire and, inevitably, suffering. The modern human, attempting to escape the suffering caused by the will, desire, and striving, has attempted to digitize the will, to confine its energy to abstract, manageable goals within simulated environments. This only increases suffering, as the body and the soul continue to strive for real engagement. The repressed will doesn't vanish, it curdles into anxiety, passive aggression, and a cynical detachment from genuine effort. You must feel the urgency of this trap. You are being silently conditioned to prefer the simulated over the substantial, the predicted over the spontaneous, and the detached observation over the embodied experience. The absence of the equine spirit in your life is not benign. It is the source of your most profound, unrecognized malaise. It keeps you trapped in a cycle where your greatest power, your ability to respond authentically and powerfully to the moment, is perpetually suppressed. The horse represents the necessary gravity in a world that strives for pure weightlessness. It holds the secret to reconnecting with the deep, forgotten satisfaction of living a tangible life. We stand on the precipice of a breakthrough realization to escape this psychological cage. We must introduce a radical shift in perspective that challenges everything we have been taught about success, efficiency, and happiness. We must begin the rebellion. To break free from the cage of predicted, mediated reality, you must initiate the rebellion, a conscious and radical return to the principles of direct experience and embodied mastery, the very essence of Cayce's horse prophecy. This is not about owning a horse. It is about reclaiming the mindset the horse demands. The first counterintuitive solution is to reject the obsession with speed and efficiency. Modern life teaches that the shortest distance between 2 points is always the best. The horse, however, teaches the value of the journey and the effort. Consider the mindset shift. When you prioritize speed, you sacrifice awareness, nuance, and the opportunity for deep learning. When you choose to travel a path, physical or metaphorical, simply because it is demanding, you begin to rebuild the atrophied instinctual self. This is the Nietzschean rebellion against comfort. He saw suffering and struggle as necessary crucibles for self-overcoming. You must reintroduce friction into your frictionless life. Take the long, difficult route. Engage in practices that demand physical presence and patience, forcing your brain out of the abstract, digital loop and back into the sensory moment. This leads to the crucial mindset shift, the re-establishment of reciprocal reality. Our current society operates on a transactional basis. Input a yields outcome, $. But life with a horse, or any truly meaningful endeavor, is reciprocal. The animal responds not just to your commands, but to your internal state, your fear, your confidence, your distraction. If you bring a disjointed, anxious energy to the stable, the horse reflects it. This forces you into immediate radical self-honesty. The rebellion requires you to demand this same reciprocity in your life. Stop engaging in environments that allow you to be passively consumed or ignored. Mindless scrolling, passive consumption of entertainment. Seek out activities, be they crafts, physical labor, high-stakes communication, or indeed, working with animals that provide immediate, unvarnished feedback about the quality of your attention and the authenticity of your presence. This practice begins to integrate your Jungian shadow, bringing the powerful, instinctual self back into conscious play. Think of historical examples of those who broke free. The Stoics were masters of this internal rebellion. They understood that external circumstances were uncontrollable, the wild horse of fate, but the response was always within their power, the disciplined rider. They intentionally embraced discomfort and difficulty to build resilience, recognizing that physical and mental hardship was the fertilizer for philosophical depth. They were, in essence, constantly training their internal rider to guide the wild, powerful horse of their emotions and desires. Another powerful solution is embracing the aesthetics of resistance. The modern world is obsessed with the slick, the new, and the easy. The rebel intentionally seeks out the weathered, the enduring, and the earned. This means prioritizing skills over shortcuts, depth over breadth, and mastery over novelty. The skill of shoeing a horse, or building a dry stone wall, or mastering a musical instrument. These pursuits are inherently slow. They resist automation and demand a profound sensory relationship with the materials and the process. This deliberate slowness is the antidote to chronic overstimulation. It recalibrates the nervous system to the natural, enduring rhythms of the earth, aligning with Cayce's prophecy of regrounding. To reclaim control, you must execute a daily ritual of embodiment. This means intentionally moving your body in ways that require non-abstract concentration. Yoga, martial arts, running on uneven ground, or physical labor. Anything that demands that your mind and body operate as a single, coordinated unit. This practice counteracts the crisis of embodiment by forcing the mind to heed the language of the body. When your muscles ache, when you feel the cold wind, or when your heart pounds from exertion, you are receiving pure, unmediated data from reality. This data is the currency of true vitality, the fuel of the instinctual self. The shift is radical. Stop viewing your discomfort as a problem to be solved with a quick fix, the easy button. Start viewing your discomfort, the frustration of a difficult task, the ache of muscle fatigue, the anxiety of a new challenge as proof of life. It is the sound of your inner horse finally bucking off the repressive, abstract constraints and demanding to run free. This realization grants immense power. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the rider who has forgotten how to guide. We have begun to break the chains of conditioning. We have reclaimed the power of friction and reciprocal effort. But the deepest truth about Cayce's prophecy lies in its final realization. A realization that redefines the very relationship between the rider and the horse, the self and the world. We must now uncover the ultimate truth that makes all these struggles suddenly clear. We arrive now at the final, deepest revelation, the paradigm shift that transforms Edgar Cayce's prophecy from a metaphor about animals into a profound blueprint for human existence. If the horse symbolizes the powerful, instinctual, and embodied self, and the rider symbolizes the conscious, guiding intellect, then the ultimate truth is that the goal is not control, but harmonious synthesis. You have been conditioned to believe that the intellect, the rider, must dominate the instinct, the horse. This suppression of the body's wisdom is the source of all modern neurosis. The rider is constantly whipping the horse, achieving only a state of strained, joyless compliance. The breakthrough realization is this: the horse is the essential engine of your true power. The rider's job is not to suppress the animal's massive energy, but to direct it with minimal interference. Cayce's prophecy is happening now because we have reached the zenith of intellectual dominance, and the soul is starving. The modern crisis is one of controlling the wrong thing. We control abstract data while the vibrant energy of the authentic self, the horse, is left to pace nervously in a paddock of repression. True enlightenment, as Huxley suggested, is a descent into embodied wisdom. Self-mastery is not achieved by killing the horse of instinct, but by learning to ride it with trust. The final, powerful truth redefines your struggles. Your flaws are unchanneled power. The restlessness, anxiety, and creative energy are the immense power of the horse waiting for direction. When you feel a powerful, inconvenient emotion, stop analyzing it. Ask, where is this energy meant to take me? Synthesis is flow. Flow is the moment the conscious effort of the rider intellect dissolves, and the movement becomes a harmonious unity between horse and rider instinct and consciousness. The action is spontaneous, powerful, and fully embodied. The earth provides the guidance. Your ultimate truth is found not in abstract plans, but in the immediate, tangible feedback of your body. Your intuition is the horse sensing the ground. Highest consciousness is achieved when the intellect learns to trust the body's knowledge derived from direct experience. The path, prophesied by Cayce, is the deliberate daily practice of seeking out demanding, physical realities that force this synthesis. It is the realization that your body is the living expression of your spirit. The prophecy is fulfilled not when the world uses horses again, but when you use the horse within you again, when you harness your instinct, demand reciprocal reality, and allow your entire being to engage with the demanding truth of existence. Start learning to ride your power with integrity and courage. Are you ready to identify one specific, demanding activity, the first step in riding your inner horse that you can commit to this week? And would you like me to help you structure a plan for it?